Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We will be starting in a couple of minutes, just waiting for attendees to connect. So please bear with us for this couple of minutes and we shall start soon. While we wait for other attendees to connect, feel free to use Q&A or the chat for any questions. It's a big presentation today, a big webinar. We'll be consolidating a lot of subjects, but we do our best to answer those questions at the end. So in a minute, we'll start. Thanks everyone for joining. So, welcome to the SecurityGen webinar. We'll be discussing today what's been, let's say, on the screen and on the discussion for 2025, biggest threats. And today, I'm Gustavo Conte. I have security background and telco background. I've been working on this market for the last 20-something years. I'll be joined today by my fellow colleagues from SecurityGen and one colleague from Vision Space. I would like them to introduce themselves. So, Mohammed, if you may.
Thank you, Gustavo. Hello, everyone. This is Mohammed Al-Kayed. I'm Senior Pre-Sales at SecurityGen, responsible for the MENA region. Today, I will be speaking about the eSIM topic, what we have seen this year, and what to expect for the next years. Thank you. Moving on to my colleague, Sergey.
Hello, colleagues. My name is Sergey Puzankov. In SecurityGen, I'm responsible for product and solution delivery. And today I will speak about SS7 vulnerabilities, what we had on this area in 2025, and what we will see in future. Thank you. This is Ricardo.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Ricardo Fredic. I'm a cybersecurity engineer at Vision Space. I've been doing security research and space vulnerability research at Vision Space and developing training content to help with security operation.
So what we'll be addressing today about 2025. So let's take a look on the threat landscape, what changed this year. So what we noticed is that we didn't get some louder or bigger exposures, let's say disruptive attacks. Instead, what Nokia points out is that stealth intrusions were more common. So 63% of operators were hit by living on land attacks, and a third of them repeatedly. So attackers just entered, broke in, and got access to critical systems, such as lawful interception, HLR, HSS, subscriber database, sometimes not only operators, right? Some companies like message brokers, and they stay there like for years. Like so, Typhoon is a good example of it. They just connected, reached some operator, stayed inside, and collected information. So these intelligence information collection was the target, not to disrupt anything, not to grab attention or to ransom. They see value on really, let's say, selling this intelligence or using this intelligence on their favor. Technology-wise, so you see that operators are investing a lot. 70% of them claim they're investing on AI and machine learning driven threat detection. And on the other hand, attackers are using AI mainly for phishing, reconnaissance, exploit crafting. Is really about automation, right? There's a lot of discussion. Oh, the next malware will be AI built, will not be AI built. This I want to enter this part, but we see that this adds to their capacity, right? And operators, on the other hand, they are trying to automate themselves as well, because it's a matter of contradicting this buffer attackers have built. Still, you can automate whatever you want. 60% of incidents, unfortunately, still come from human error, some insider actors, insider threats, and 3/4 of it missed patches. So when you see it happen and you do the aftermath, you could have been just prevented some of those, 3/4 of those, by patching your system. So basic hygiene is still forever needed. Again, an increase on the last 5 years of 75% of the attack volume. We see operators are investing. So GSMA brings this to our attention, 15, 19 billion. We don't know. This number may be not precise, but the order of magnitude is. So we see there's strong push for intelligence sharing. There's a lot of knowledge, but again, when it comes to implementation of it, automation of it, we see some gaps. Same of NIST 360 shown for Europe, right? So operators, they know everything. They have the structure. They report well to the regulators. But this reporting consumes 80% of their resources. So of their time, of this billions of dollars, and you don't invest the same on the actual threat mitigation. So again, it's about taking action. It's not that there's not enough investment, there's not enough people. Sometimes we don't have the right people, or you have the right people doing reports, doing just compliance, right? So let's just keep an eye that it evolves in a better way. So I'd like to ask my colleague Mohammed to present you about eSIM security.
Thank you, Gustavo. Hello, everyone. Today we will be exploring the eSIM security, what happened during this year from incidents to research, and what actions was taken by regulators. And to expect what to do next, let's say in the next future, near future years. But first, let me give you a quick introduction of what is the eSIM. eSIM is a digital SIM profile that's being downloaded to the user equipment through the air in a secure chip inside the device. Yes, it has a lot of benefits, like we are getting rid of the plastic SIM cards. We are giving flexibility to the user to switch plans. However, remote provisioning are expanding the attack surface. There are now more trust boundaries and dependencies with the eSIM, as we will see in our next slides. So mainly, SIM and eSIM are still essential for the mobile connectivity, and they are really well targeted for fraud and service abuses, as we have seen through the last years. So 2025 was a big year for SIM and eSIM. We have seen some big incidents like the New York SIM farm that was taken down in September. Same thing for EU SIM Carter in October. Also, we have seen some actions that been taken as a reaction for this from regulators, such as like FCC hardens anti-robocall and SIM swap rules. But before we jump inside those incidents, let me explain a little bit what is a SIM farm and how it works. SIM farm is a cluster of SIM servers and SIM boxes connected together with automation to do automate call and SMS at a scale. Used usually for smishing, fake accounts, or any illegal like actions that can be done with those things. And it depends on the rotation between the SIM cards, so it makes it hard like to identify or to look for patterns. Our first case study is the New York SIM farm takedown. The US authorities has taken down and dismantled this in September 2025. It is the largest scale fraud we have seen like until now. The biggest infrastructure. At the beginning, it was the media was like claiming that this is something for a network blackout. And yes, that's a valid point, let's say, to if you look like at the amount of servers, the amount of active SIM cards, it contains like more than 300 servers with 100K active SIM cards. So you can imagine how many SMS and calls can be done in a minute, let's say. But in addition to that, as we already like see before SIM farms, we can see this as a biggest fraud infrastructure for mobile. And if you imagine like the investment that was done on this to build such a big infrastructure for fraud, and imagine linking this with eSIM without like any physical interaction or physical limitation, we can like see way big and higher scale for such farms. Our next case study is Europe's SIM cartel. Similar to it, but less in the scale, let's say. But if we see the impact of it, numbers were rented from more than 80 countries. Around 49 million accounts was created using those SIM cards. And the losses was 4.5 million. This was documented losses, let's say, 4.5 million at Austria and around 500,000 at Latvia. So imagine what can be done with a bigger scale. Now, why this is matter and how eSIM like fits inside these SIM farms. First of all, what's the SIM security weaknesses? It is the weak KYC, the simple provisioning. And with eSIM, as we said, the scale can be bigger and can be, the scale of the abuse can be bigger. Also, like there is a new dependencies and trust boundaries with other parties inside the eSIM, like the resellers, like the vendors. And unfortunately, like those resellers, it's so easy to become a reseller. Those resellers sometimes have a lot of control while they don't have any like law governance or regulation checking for them. So that's, if not being taken care of well, it will make attackers' life way easier with this new technology. Also, if we look like for the Usenet security paper that was published this year, checking for the travel eSIM security, one of the trending, let's say, services that depends on the eSIM. The analysis of them, they have done analysis for 25 travel eSIM, and they found that the routing is being like cross-border overseas, which highlight some like privacy concerns for this. Also, like resellers are having a lot of carrier level controls, such as they can like access IDs, they can assign public IP addresses, and sometimes they can like proactively communicate with the user equipment without the awareness of the user. In addition to that, they also like found some profile lifecycle issues, such as like the deletion of profile, the login for profile, which is usually like linked to the attackers to start an attack. So To sum up, yes, eSIM is a great technology. It has like a great encryption, let's say from operator side. We can like manage some security controls from operator side, but also in addition to have, let's say, a full secure system, we need to build a defense system. This defense system should rely on the collaboration between all parties inside this ecosystem, the operators, the resellers, and the regulators. It's good to see the incidents, the authorities taking action against the incidents, but also we need to help them by building a stronger defense system against all of this. That's it from my side. Thank you again, and I will be looking for questions in your in the question and answer tab. I'm leaving the stage for my colleague Sergey.
Okay, thank you, Muhammad. Sorry, but something goes wrong. I cannot control. No. Okay. It looks everything goes well. But
Want me to move the slides? Okay, I can do this for you.
I cannot move slides. Please, next slide.
Sure.
Okay, today I will speak about SS7, and the question why we are speaking about this rather old technology now in 2025. So, despite being an old technology, SS7 is still in the focus of mass media and in the focus of telecom security experts. So in 2025, we could see such publications as reports about SS7 zero-day vulnerability offered on the dark web, investigations into surveillance vendors abusing SS7 data, and another journalist's research about what an intruder can do on the SS7 networks. Please, next slide. The most focusing discussions within expert community was the following topics. First, for sure, this is a continuation of exploitation of SS7 vulnerabilities. Probing activities with different bypass techniques and new bypass techniques that allows intruders to intrude the networks, even protected with SS7 firewalls. So SS7 is, as I previously said, is an old technology, but still it has crucial and significant value in global mobile networks infrastructure. And still, since SS7 is inherently vulnerable, this is it remains the easiest point to penetrate telecom networks for intruders. Please, yes, thank you. So if we speak about bypass techniques, I can highlight the following ones. The first is TCAP dialog manipulation. In this bypass technique, intruders tries to manipulate with insignificant part of signaling message, doing the firewall blind to this kind of attack. One more bypass technique, new bypass technique, is tag extension, or parameter tag extension. Here, intruders try to use additional digits. For example, if we speak about a floating number, just for human, it is easy to compare 1.3 and 1.30. These are two different, or these are equal values. But for example, for parsers or for some software, it is not easy to compare these numbers. So logics can be different, and parsers can correct here. One more technique is SS7 data exfiltration. This is a reproduction of a command and control, or C2 server, in the lab. The same technology was used by a group of hackers, Liminal Panda, who executed this data exfiltration over SS7 and GTP protocols. So I do not explain all these bypass techniques in details. If you want, you can refer to provided links where my colleague Ayman El Sharif explains it in details, and these are very interesting videos. Please, next slide. I will focus on on the last one, the data exfiltration using SS7. So in the demo stand, we have two servers, two hosts. One of them emulates APT controlled network, or C2 server. Another one emulates compromised node on the mobile operator. And compromised node contains text file, secretdata.txt. And now I will demonstrate how this text file will be transferred between two nodes via SS7 networks. Please, the next one. So here on this video, we have three windows inside. On the right upper corner, this is an emulation of C2 server that will collect data. On the bottom right side, the terminal of the agent or compromised node, this one, that will send traffic, secretdata.txt. And here in this terminal, we can see some lines from this file with data. On the left side, we see Wireshark that is ready to collect traffic, signaling traffic that will be generated between these two nodes. So now we run the server and run the script on the agent that will generate signal and traffic. So what we see in the Wireshark, the signal and traffic is going on, and we see send routing info for SM signal and messages. It is a legitimate operation, not suspicious, that allowed between different mobile operators. But if we look at inside of one signal and message, what we can see, the signal and message consists of different layers. One of the layer is a CCP that contains address information. Now you see highlighted data on the very bottom. Yeah, this is the end of a CCP. It is here. The next layer is TCAP that contains some technical information, and it begins here, only here. And if you can see, between SCCP and TCAP, there is some data that should not be here in normal message. But the focus is or trick is that signaling firewall does not see it, and the destination equipment does not see it. Only specialized software can extract this information and take it. And what we see, the data.txt file is gathered and collected from a lot of signal and messages. And if you compare the last lines between these two terminals, you can see that data is absolutely equal. So one text file was transferred to another node via SS7. That is very interesting technique. Okay, Gustavo, please, next slide. So, but now let's go from the SS7 to the progress to how to let's speak to our reality. We apart from SS7, we have another protocols and another technologies from GSM to 5G, and there are a lot of global forecasts about development of all technologies, and all of them speak the following: that 2G and 3G will go away from the market, and new technologies will be growing. And for example, if we look at the left right diagram, this diagram from 2017, 8 years ago, and their forecast for 2025 was that 2G is almost or about to die. Yeah, or almost no any subscribers in 2G. Please, next slide. And let's look at at reality and what we really have comparing with the forecast. The GSMA resource has this feature that allows you to select any country, any operator within the country. And Gustavo, please, next. Yeah, and you will see the generations of the network, the coverage of these generations in each country. I click all countries manually and trying to find networks that do not use GSM and do not use 3G, or in other words, networks that works without SS7. Gustavo, please click. So it's enough fingers on one hand to calculate these countries. And please be surprised. Gustavo, please click. These countries are American Samoa, or the next one, Greenland, the next one, Norfolk Island, and the next one, Taiwan, and that's all. There are only 4 countries without SS7. And what it does speak about? We think that 2026 and beyond will be full of attacks on the SS7 protocols in all countries. And we expect that both intruders and security experts will disclose new bypass techniques and new vulnerability on SS7. This is our reality, and operators should be ready for it. Unfortunately, it is so. And now I will hand over to Gustavo.
Thanks so much, Sergey. So I got the pleasure to talk a little bit on the future, right? Talk about non-terrestrial networks. So I'll give you an introduction on how we see the scenario. So everyone has seen these. A lot of operators are talking about, oh, we have ubiquitous coverage now, we have satellite coverage for 5G. Let's look a little inside this claim. So finally, and this was scheduled for 6G, and as usual, right, the normatives they anticipate. So you're building when you're going towards a direction. Usually the previous generation benefits. The same thing about LTE and handset. Lots of it was, let's say, scheduled and expected for 5G and just happened. Non-terrestrial networks just happened on 5G and sometimes in 4G. And why, right? Because we have a different environment now. So we were used to geostationary orbit, and now we have this huge evolution in just a few years. So if you look from the 60s until 2010, have very few objects on our orbit, and then it just explodes in a decade and a half, right? You can see almost in a decade, it just explodes, mostly because of commercial satellites. So what's the focus of these and why they are allowing us to finally have ubiquitous 5G connection? Let's just take a step back and look on the, let's say, the announcement. So December last year, 1 year from now, we have the first 5G connection. And afterwards, every other month or every month, one operator would be testing, one satellite provider will be testing, and this is how we see, right? So in 6 months, we have from the first connection, in 6 months, we have US T-Mobile saying, oh, you can use it, and even if you're using another US operator, you can use our network. So this is developing fast. But before that, there was already some, let's say, known threats, known attacks, and vulnerabilities of satellite communication. So you can see Sentinel Labs reporting on a Europe breach, some GPS spoofing that we have seen every other engagement, military engagement nowadays. You see these kind of things happening. And you see specialized groups collecting data, not from your 5G connection, but from defense companies, from governments, all sorts of things. So it's not that we are, let's say, we are unaware that satellite can be breached, right? And they have been, let's say, a target for many, many years, even from the 60s. Right now, they're becoming ubiquitous, so they're becoming everyone's life, not only the military, not only the broadcasters. So when it touches your life, it becomes personal. And that's the main change nowadays. So at SecurityGen, we talk a lot about the 5G part. So how it affects on the 3GPP part, on the normative. What's the difference for us? So why now, right? When it gets from low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, then it starts to be viable, right? Because from geostationary, my mobile is strong enough, but not that strong to broadcast from here to such a distance. So the technical part is being sorted. Some challenges still remain, like cell size, impacts of the atmosphere, influence of the atmosphere on the propagation. So all of these have to be solved. So now we are ready to deal with this part. Still, it's relevant that we are not doing this for GSM, for 2G network, or 3G, or even a 4G network, due to specific, let's say, parameters of each generation, especially of timing advance. Now we are able to cover a 300 kilometers cell size. If we would like to do this with GSM, okay, we would have like 1/10 of diameter of this cell size. So it becomes, let's say, technically, it's not about 10 times, right? Let's think about area. So it's thousands of times more effort, more challenge to cover. Back to some definition. There are two ways of doing this. You can use a satellite as a transparent, as a bent pipe, just to deliver some information that has been created and trapped on Earth. So you have in fact, your G node B will be on Earth, and satellite is just relaying the information. So it's just a payload, right? Like most of applications use the satellite, like the broadcasters use the satellite. Satellite doesn't know about 5G. It's just retransmitting your data to the right place. On the other hand, you can have the GNode be onboarded, and you call it a regenerative payload. So satellite becomes part of a mobile network. It has to process the data all the way up, and it will be connected through a gateway to a 5G core, but not only really one 5G core, but many 5G cores. So it's interesting, right? Especially if you're an attacker, when satellites start taking part on the mobile network infrastructure and start having an active role on it. So looking from the telco side, what will be the threat vectors we see? First, if the satellite is a bent pipe, you have a lot of different operators, and their RAN is connected. Each radio access network is connected to this satellite. So can we try to isolate one mobile network? Can we just start pinging and keeping those mobiles active and drain their battery, or even drain capacity? So if it's a shared resource, can we just, I don't know, I take my phone to the desert place, I say I start a huge connection, but I don't really transmit data. I just keep it alive enough to deplete the bandwidth, to make the network busy on the satellite part. And then I will be denying access and denying resources to other networks. So this is one vulnerability specific of the bent pipe. On the regenerative payload, it's even more promising, because we don't expect this GNode be flying all over the low Earth orbit part to be, let's say, very capable of processing and doing lots of things. So many protections that we find on terrestrial radio access networks won't be feasible there. And other than that, the core networks are connected straight to it. So as our research shows, there are some, let's say, vulnerabilities on the RAN that we could exploit, but also on the core. One thing is that in order to broadcast and reach your mobile all the way from space, it's not really a matter of knowing which, let's say, G-Node B, E-Node B is covering your mobile. This is not static anymore. You have to remember those satellites are moving. So we are being covered by many satellites over time. So the network must know your precise GPS location. So this information is now known by the core. So if I'm an attacker, I'm no longer locating you in a radius of, I don't know, 1 kilometer, 3 kilometers. I'm knowing your precise location data if I just ask it for the core network. It's not about cell global ID anymore. It's latitude and longitude. So when I ask as an attacker to your 5G core about your location, and it's just one question to your AMF, I will receive precise location, not this radius of kilometers, but a radius of meters. And of course, I know where you are. I know I can trace your connection. I could just deny service on a location that I know that you have no redundancy, right? This coverage is built and planned for when you're out of regular mobile coverage. It's not that you are in downtown, big city, and you are using non-terrestrial networks. Your mobile will prefer to use terrestrial networks anytime, any day. But if you have no coverage and I purposely go and deny service to your endpoint, this is really this can be, let's say, life-threatening. Again, as we don't expect much processing, it's possible and likely that someone could collect some IMSI information on those regions, because it should be passing clear text, at least at the beginning of the communication. Now I'll hand over to our colleague Ricardo from Vision Space to talk more about specific satellite threats. Ricardo, please.
Taking control. And should be working now.
Should be now.
Oops, too much. There you go. Okay. So first, let's take a quick step back and understand how a space system works. So we can essentially split it into three main areas. So if we look first at the top, the space segment, that is your spacecraft. This can be one or multiple if you're running a constellation. These are talking with the ground segment. Here it's represented by a ground station antenna, but this includes all of the terrestrial infrastructure that supports your space mission. That includes mission control centers, the fiber networks, the IT infrastructure, and the list goes on. And these is then connected to the user segment. That's what comes out of your mission, and that can be user terminals, your own infrastructure is essentially the output of the mission. Okay. So an example mission will look something like this. First, you have your spacecraft, of course, or your constellation. These are communicating over radio frequency with your ground station network. Then these are connected to mission control centers, and we'll look a bit into detail about what this means in a few minutes. That is distributing the information to either data centers or core network, whatever is connected to it. That's essentially your mission output, and from there, that is distributed to the end user. Obviously, this needs to be controlled. It's not fully automated yet, so we have teams 24/7 working on operation of these missions. These were traditionally focused on perimeter-based security. However, and especially since COVID, that is no longer the case. So you have systems that were built on the assumption that they would be isolated, that are now being exposed to the internet, and with that, the increased threat area that comes with it. And that's where we'll focus a bit on the next slides. So first on the mission control center, that's the heart of the mission. This is where you have a wide IT infrastructure and custom software, automation, all built to support operations. This is where you have your astrodynamic software, for example, to determine where the satellite is and where it will be in the future. You have your mission planning software, calculating the next steps and based on user inputs, and mission control software used by the spacecraft operators to actually control these spacecrafts. And this acts essentially like a human-machine interface for your satellites. So for context here, we focus our research on open source mission control software. We targeted YAMS that is used for a number of smaller satellite operations. This is also planned to be used for lunar rovers and is currently being used for the European robotic arm of the ISS. Also NASA's OpenMCT, so that was used to control the Mars rovers, and OpenC3 Cosmos that's been gaining popularity among smaller satellite missions, but also targeting the onboard software on the other end of the link. So we wanted to increase impact as much as possible. So we focus on frameworks that are reused between missions. So that way they can affect more than one target. The most popular here are the NASA SCO-Flight System, or CFS. This is used to build small satellite missions, already has multiple decades of legacy, and it's also being used on the James Webb Space Telescope and currently being qualified for human spaceflight. But also F-Prime, that's a smaller network that was initially used on the Ingenuity Mars helicopter, and that's being expanded to be more general. Okay, so what we found is that when you typically think that you can destroy a satellite by throwing a missile at it, that's something that was already demonstrated by multiple nation states. This has a large potential negative impact on the operation for anyone that uses it, also restraining its use. What we found is that you can actually much easily take a mission down by targeting the ground or space segment, software, and vulnerabilities. So essentially, a lot of this software has decades of legacy. It's been in development for decades at this point. And traditionally, it's not designed for security. The development didn't really have security requirements. They assumed that it would be restricted and as limited as possible without internet access, for example. So it was never meant to be exposed to threat actors. And so we demonstrated multiple security flaws on this type of software. You can find the demos for the next two sections on the last presentation in August. We go into a bit more detail on how these are used to exploit the Mission Control Center. But here I'll do a quick overview. So first we focus on OpenC3 Cosmos. As I mentioned before, that's a mission control software. And what we found is that by targeting a spacecraft operator, for example, with a phishing campaign, you could essentially trick the user into running your payload. At that point, the mission control could reach back to you, and you'd obtain remote code execution and full control of that workstation. At that point, you essentially control the mission. You can send and receive commands to the ground station network without user knowing it. They would probably notice on telemetry later, but at that point it's too late. And from this point on, you can start moving laterally and take control of the rest of the network. And on the other side, we also looked at YAMS. In this case, it was a bit more limited, so we couldn't get remote control to the mission control center. However, using the same type of vector, so targeting the spacecraft operator, we could essentially gain the same type of control. So we would be able to send and receive commands to the satellite without the user knowing it. At that point, it's a single point of failure. The moment you target one specific user and you get one of them to execute your payload, you gain a way in and your mission is vulnerable from there on. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg. So as I mentioned, we targeted multiple software, multiple versions. Just on mission control software, we have a significant list of vulnerabilities at this point. This is just our research, and at this point, it's important to mention that this was a best effort in a limited time. After this, a lot of other researchers have come forward with their own security vulnerabilities, and the same for onboard software. Again, most vulnerabilities start at a medium and they go up to a critical, which means you can essentially lose control of that software stack. This just highlights, this is not this on these developers, just highlights that the development of this type of software was not focused on security from the ground up. This is, as I said before, decades-old software that's being now brought to modern standards. So it's going to take a while to update them to the security standards of today.
Thanks, Ricardo. So trying to sum up what we have seen today, right? We've seen that challenges come from legacy networks, not only the satellite legacy, but SS7 networks that are, let's say, just 4 networks are fully, let's say, free of this legacy, as my colleague Sergey has pointed out. We have massive amount of attackers, so we have volume. You see the SIM farms, record-sized SIM farms, so big that Secret Service look at it as a threat to telecommunications itself, as we know that usually they are a threat to end users and identity, and that size of it, right? Still, we have some research showing that talent gap is still present. So we have a massive shortage. Some ISC estimates on 10 million specialists needed and about half of it available. Skill gap. So what happens is that estimation that losses are 5 times bigger because we don't have the knowledge. And root cause that threats keep evolving. Payment that it pays to attack. So while we are investing on compliance, budget is not a problem. We know that the investment is there, but we see some lack of training. We see some lack of development of talent. So comparing from 2024 to 5, you see the shortage was reported as smaller, like 5% smaller, but still 63% of the companies they report, they are shorted staff. So I'm not telling you, I have lived enough time in mobile operators to know that you won't double your team in 1 year, usually not even in 5, right? Those are optimized companies. They need to make profit. They need to be efficient. They need to work 24/7. So anytime you put one new position, you're talking about 3 new positions in operation. And a 4th guy just cover for the occasions of the other 3. So the way we see this is happening is through automation, right? Of course, upskilling. Of course, we need to train those guys. We need to improve these, and we are doing this kind of work as well. We're doing a lot of training recently, but also to augment their capacity through automation, through machine learning and AI detection, to make sure they can face all those alerts. Think of it, someone monitoring from SS7 to satellite access, and some small deviation could be a relevant attack. So let's say, sometimes when I talk about SIM farms, it's just some, let's say, at the initial part of it, when they activate, you can see some interference on the network, right? But in order to be able to detect it, either you have a 10 times bigger SOC team, or you do it smartly. So I would rather say that the second option, it will be the main one and the reasonable one to proceed. At this point, I really thankful to all my colleagues who presented today. I believe we may have transmitted good insights, and I hope it was useful to all the audience. I thank you everyone for participating, and at any point, reach out for us for any detailing on those subjects. That would be it. Appreciate your time. And again, all the best on your future development.